Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes from Uzala. Hey, I wanted to send you a Conjurer song for a long time. I don't think you did a video featuring them. It's a UK metal band and they merge a lot of different genre and style of music into their own very unique and cohesive sound. I hope you and your viewers like it. We're going to be listening to something from Conjurer. This comes from an Audiotree live session. The song is called It Dwells. Let's dive into this and see what Conjurer is bringing to the table today. Alright, a slight bit of bluesiness in this. Very high-end EQ'd on these guitars. Definitely feels thin. I didn't think we were going to get into it that quick, but it was definitely a thinner sound. Yeah, cool triplet pulse within this 4/4. Bringing the 3 pulse to the forefront. The back and forth on the vocals is pretty nice too. Nice bit of contrast there. Interesting that the left guitar cut out while the right guitar still had the big sounds. It's an interesting imbalance that leads to this lighter atmosphere. Yeah, very interesting tossing screamo segment in there. Having a very pained, fry vocal with light guitars before moving back into this metallic section. A nice bit of mystery in that transition phrase. Yeah, and that's the thing. Every fourth bar of 4 is actually extended by 1 beat. So we actually have a 17 beat phrase. About 55 BPM. 57, 58 maybe. It definitely took quite a bit of a downturn in speed. Interesting bit of uplifting guitar off on the left. And still a very dominant 3 pulse here. Love that drum pattern. Oh, that hard stop. The simplification of the drum pattern while still sticking with the aggressiveness of the instrumentation. Very cool. Yeah, I think they do a fantastic job of bringing sort of a balance between heavy and aggressive weight to beauty and something uplifting. It's a nice mix of both of those. And it's something that I saw as a pretty strong component to a lot of the writing. Granted, we start off pretty heavy. I mean, we do start technically with a thinner treble EQ'd guitar sound, a bit of compression there, but that is just a way to create contrast with what we're going to next, because we only listened to that for about 15 seconds. The guitar comes in, the drums come in, the bass comes in, everything's super heavy. And immediately right from the kickoff, we have the layered vocals. We have the growls and the fry screams. And all of this is just an immense weight. I could already tell from the beginning that it wasn't quite filling the space yet. That first guitar tone, it just felt thin compared to everything else. Now, interestingly, this is still a rather compressed sound overall. It feels very tight and claustrophobic, but even right here, you can tell this is just a thin little tone at the beginning of the song. And so from here, we have this massive downbeat. Everyone's in on this huge tone. And the majority of the song plays with these two variables. Or these two variances where we have something massive and heavy or something a bit lighter. We did have one moment, though, where we saw both of them combined, and I had mentioned that the left guitar was playing something a bit uplifting, while we had, I think, tremolo picking on the other guitar, super heavy, dark, gloomy chord progression. We had growls, the drums are going crazy. I think there was the 16th note bass kicks at this time as well. The bass guitar is just this massive tone underneath everything. It was a very cool moment that kind of bled both of these two styles together into one. But we also had moments that allowed us to see just one or the other. Now, the heavy metallic stuff certainly is dominant across this track, but I did like that not acoustic, but clean electric sound that we had a couple of minutes into the track, maybe. Lots of emo vibes going on with the note choices, the tone of the guitar, sort of the lack of any sort of weight, and then, of course, putting the Fry screams on top of that. The very pained screamo style Fry screams. The whole section just reminded me of some of the most emotionally distraught underground screamo stuff that you can find. And it's very interesting to hear that pocketed in, a little 30 or 40-second segment of this otherwise very clearly metal song. So I find the highs and the lows on this to be fairly compelling. Now, they also do a really great job of changing things up from time to time, and keeping the song fresh despite the overwhelming aggression that the entire song dwells within. Most of this song is heavy guitars, whether it is slower heavy strumming or tremolo picking, creating weight through repeated attacks. There's always a sort of weight and aggression put on the listener here. But there's nuance to it as well. If you listen to the drummer, you'll find that the drummer chooses to change things up every 4 bars or so. Well, maybe 8 bars is a better way to view that. Long enough to get a feel for the section, but not too long that it becomes the drum pattern. I can't really think of anywhere in here where the drummer stagnates to a point where I'm like, oh, this is just the drum section or the drum pattern for this section. Each section, whether it's a verse or a chorus or a bridge, although I don't know what the structure is of this song because it feels fairly linear to me. Regardless, the drummer is constantly in flux, and there is a very cool push and pull that they use where you'll find that they might take an idea they have and slow it down. Maybe they were playing 16th notes, so now they'll only play 8th notes, or sometimes they go in the other direction, kind of keeping this locked down on the beat with quarter notes, and then saying, well, what if we shifted over to 8th notes? We speed things up a little bit. I wouldn't say that there is too much of a dramatic rhythmic change. Usually the accent pattern is very similar in each of these iterations of a passage, but the drummer does keep things fresh, constantly evolving or changing in a way usually developed to help the song push towards a specific direction, such as when we went for that, I don't even know, probably halftime feel at the 58 BPMs. When we really slowed things down, the drummer was actually gradually slowing their self down, not necessarily reducing their own tempo, but just hitting the drums less frequently over time. And again, maybe we had 16th note bass kicks, and then maybe we kept those, but we reduced the number of times we hit cymbals or the number of times that they hit the snare. And it feels like we're slowing down because the drummer is playing less notes while finding a way to retain intensity. And sometimes there'd be an inverse of this as well, where the drums slow down, but the guitars go to tremolo picking or 16th note picking in order to speed up their part of the song while the drums can slow down. Just a lot of different ways that we can find instruments changing their intensity levels, usually through how often they're playing or at what speed they're playing. I don't think that there's too many cases where an instrument changes their intensity through harmony. There's not a lot of melody in here, and volume pretty much comes at specific moments and everyone engages with that. So yeah, I guess it's frequency of attack, which is really where a lot of the intensity gets shifted around here. But it does do enough that one, I picked up on it, and two, it keeps the song feeling interesting from moment to moment, despite the fact that the overall, surface level feeling of this song is rather static from start to finish. Now the vocals, I like them. The growls are, well, honestly, they're solid growls. This dude's just got a huge width. There's a lot of power to the vocals. Not necessarily my cup of tea, just growls in general usually bounce off of me, but I am sort of enamored by them. Not in a way that I would hunt them down and be like, I need to hear more growls like this, but simply that while listening to this, I had a real strong appreciation for the growling technique. And I think more importantly, because I'm not a vocalist, I don't really know what the technique is going in there, it just sounds cool. But it does hit my ears in a way that feels powerful, and it seems like it matches the instrumentation in a way that I don't always hear. Growls always to me feel distinct from everything else. They're either low and guttural, just I can't make anything out. It's just this low end fuzziness at the bottom of a song, or they're just a bit thinner, something that can be placed within the mix a little bit better, but doesn't quite stand out as well against the rest of the instruments. In a song like this, where all of the instruments are massive, the vocals need to be massive too to match that, and yet they're still quite distinct in the mix. There's nice width, but also directionality. It isn't wide enough to become muddy and mixed in with everything else. It still has its own place, has room around it, and it's pointed enough to cut through everything. It is honestly really great growls. But I also love the contrast against the Fries. Listening to the two of them together at the beginning creates a visceral sound between the two of them, but I also enjoy the back and forth. There's a very cool thing going on there where sometimes they're just passing the baton back and forth. We get a nice call and response thing, but also if you listen when they're singing, they're not always perfectly in time when they are saying the same things. Sometimes one will hold a note out a little longer than the other, and I think it just adds a little bit of nice characteristic to the song in general, but also their specific lines. This is actually something that I quite enjoy in a punkier band called Cryptodira that have two harsh vocalists that have different timbres and different styles to their harshes. And it's something that I really like in that band as well. So I'm glad to hear it here. It's kind of rare for me to find a band that has two harsh vocalists that kind of have their own techniques and sounds, and they're not just layered up all the time. So I really appreciate that about this. Finally, the guitar work in here, there's some very cool riffs. The bass work is nice, got a nice meaty tone, a couple of nice moving lines, a lot of time just kind of filling out the low end, being the foundation for the song. The vocals, like I just said, they're great, but I really want to put a spotlight on the drummer here. Phenomenal work. Not just when they lock into a groove and just kind of lay down something that's a bit more of a metronome style beat, but there's a couple of places in here too where there's some rather intricate melodic drumming going on. And sometimes the melodic drumming is only on the hands while the feet are going just, I don't know, so fast on these 16th note bass kicks. And are they 16th note bass? I guess they are. Yeah, because even if we're in 3/4, yeah, so it's still going to be 16th notes. Just really fast stuff. I was just bringing it back to layman's terms. They're going fast, just keeping a really steady beat back and forth. But then the arms are doing all of this work going between cymbals and all of the toms and the snare, and it's just, it feels great. There's a lot of movement to it, a lot of directionality. I love the drum work on this. And there's even times when the drummer gets to be a bit more tender with it and kind of focuses on little flourishes, especially working with the cymbals in parts of the song that to me, just again, it's the back and forth. It's the high energy and low energy. It's the aggressive versus the beautiful. And the drummer even gets the chance to lean in on this as well. So yeah, just really solid instrumentation work all around. I'm sure that other songs of theirs might fixate a little bit more on the lighter side, which I think I would need to really get into them. But I do like at least getting to see both sides, not just how they exist in isolation, but how they merge their again more aggressive side and more beautiful side of writing. And that's something I would certainly look forward to if I checked out more Conjurer tracks. Let me hit some lyrics on this, and then we're going to wrap this video up. All right. Interestingly, this track is about wanting something good. In this case, well, sleep, joy, sanity, and someone else, maybe even something else, stopping them from achieving that. It says, stranded in this crowded room, but while they leave, you still refuse, always lurking, waiting, watching on as your sickening presence wears my will till it breaks, depriving me of sleep, joy, sanity, never seen, but always there. I feel it breathing down my neck from across the room. It says, when other people have washed their hands of me, you'll stay true. A loyalty I never sought, but one I will never lose. Please let me sleep. So there's something that stops him from feeling joy, sanity, getting sleep. It might be, I don't know, it could just be depression, some voice at the back of his mind, but could also be something like insomnia, I suppose. Not having sleep certainly impacts your sanity. It certainly stops you from finding joy. I mean, it could be that it isn't something any larger than just an inability to sleep. And the idea of please let me sleep shows up multiple times. In fact, even when we listed the things that are being deprived, sleep comes before joy or sanity. Now, granted, that's also a really great way to escalate things. Sleep is kind of normal. Joy is a little bit more intense. Sanity is certainly the most intense of the three. But also by priority, having sleep come first is interesting, especially since nowhere else in the track does it say, let me be happy or let me be sane, but it does say, let me find sleep. So maybe it is just insomnia. It says that there's a chilling air on my skin. It pulls the fibers, tout to pluck. Leave me be, let me sleep. I will brave any tide in the ocean. If us both its depths would claim, I'll die from the highest peak if it means you will plummet the same. So they would do anything to rid themselves of this other thing, whatever it is. That they would even give their life up if it meant that they could exist without this other component. It says, one day I'll find peace. Come what may, I will have peace. So I'll do whatever it takes. I'll deal with whatever circumstances come from those choices, but removing this from my life is of the utmost import. I don't know that a lot of this is reflected in the music, but I do find that this constant intensity and anxiety is. It's not something that is completely stated, plainly stated in the lyrics, but it is something I assume is. You know, a lot of this is a pleading for something better. We don't really have heavy lyrics here, you know, about the process of being sleep deprived, of being nighttime, wanting to sleep and not being able to. A lot of this seems to be rather clear-minded. But it does have this looming element of weight, of heaviness, of depravity. And I think the music covers that. The music is almost like the entity itself putting this weight down upon the person. It's what makes the lighter moments even more sorrowful. I had mentioned that there was some joy, something uplifting in the lighter guitar lines, but it also comes off as bittersweet. And I think that the pained cries over top the quieter section of the song, the emo part of the track, it hits harder now because this is a peace that seems to be out of reach. It is a calm and a beauty that this person cannot obtain. And the screaming above that really sells this desperation. And of course, the rest of the song brings back the intensity, the weight, all of it is this one moment of of rest in a sense. But it can't even be a moment of calm for the protagonist because it isn't rest they're getting, it's rest that they're hoping for. It's a joy that they might have in the future should they finally get rid of this entity. So yeah, I think the song does a great job of embodying the feelings of this concept while the lyrics tell the story of it. And they're kind of on two different wavelengths, but they work really well together. So that's very cool. But these are just my thoughts on Conjurer's It Dwells. What did you think of this? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own interpretation of things? Please put all of that and any other thoughts you have down into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today, though. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.